Hey-o, Zack here, and welcome to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. My riding buddy today is this, the Alpha Racing M1000RR. That is, of course, a race-prepped, track-only version of BMW's M1000RR showroom superbike. Basic specs here, 218 horsepower, 380-ish pounds ready to ride, and an MSRP, in this spec anyway, of just over $50,000 US. We are going to take it for a spin around this 3.4-mile MotoGP and Formula One circuit. But before we do, let's take a closer look and just see a few things that make it kind of special and interesting, shall we? So, right off the bat, there is carbon fiber as far as the eye can see. Obviously, that is eye candy, but it also adds lightness, as the saying goes. One of my favorite parts is this fender. This is actually sort of mimics the street bike front fender, which has a built-in air scoop at the bottom of the mold for the front fender that dumps air onto these big old calipers, which are actually stock calipers for what it's worth. Other bits of the braking system I think were kind of interesting is the rotors, which are thicker, 7 millimeters thick as opposed to whatever the stock one is, 5.5 or something like that. They are heavier, which is worse for racing, but they soak up heat better, and that is worth it, I am told. Also, there are steel braided lines, of course. My favorite thing, though, is that the braking system works the way the braking systems used to. In other words, the line goes from the lever down to the front wheel, and it does not go into the bike and get ABS pumps and mumbo jumbo. So I'm hoping that that adds more feel to the braking performance. A blue hue to this spicy Exotica exhaust, which is pretty cool. Obviously, all the sort of like sweet undercut rear sets and adjustable controls that you'd expect to see on a track bike. This beautiful cut aluminum subframe that's really, really cool. This exhaust hanger made out of carbon fiber. It's really just all of the best of the best. And if you peek in here at the rear suspension a little bit there, you can see this sensor that is monitoring the stroke of the suspension, and that informs a World Superbike level set of electronics in the cockpit. The dash is not really anything special if you're used to seeing TFT dashes on other motorcycles from $5,000 basic bikes all the way up to other showroom superbikes, but it does display a bunch of stuff that's kind of interesting to look at, and we will see once we get riding. It's controlled with all these sort of silly Nintendo looking buttons, and that's for simplicity when you're on the track. And speaking of that, this is a classic front brake lever pull adjuster that's set on the left side of the handlebar. So if the brakes fade or need adjusting while the race is going on, you can just do it right here, which I think is a pretty nifty piece of kit. One other thing I wanted to point out, see the size of that cooling hose? And that's obviously because there is a lot of heat, and this bike is expected to run at very high temperatures and RPMs, and so it has nice big radiator hoses and a big radiator. Hopefully they change the tire here before I get to ride it, because this one is chawed up. When you see a slick chewed up like this, it usually means the bike has a little bit of capability built into it. So yeah, that's a basic rundown of the bike. You can of course see more specs, more information, more photos, and more backstory on how the Alpha Racing M1000RR is built. But before you click on the link in the description of this video to read that article, thank you very much, let's take this sucker for a spin, and listen to it howl. All right, giddy up.
Yoki dokie, everybody, here it is, the Alpha Racing M1000RR. This is Sebastian. Sebastian's the head of Alpha Racing. His dad started the company as a dealer parts and accessories race support unit in the early 1990s. Basically what Alpha Racing does here is they buy partially built M1000RRs from BMW's factory in Berlin, and then they outfit it with everything from a wiring harness to suspension, wheels, brakes, everything sort of superbike to super stock spec for any championship in the world, domestic championship or world championship level. Good to go, Sebastian?
Ready to go. Have fun.
Thank you, thank you. Let's start this bad Melberg up, shall we? Alrighty. Sounds purposeful. And if I ever needed anything to keep me humble, it's the fact that the best lap time listed on the screen right now is a 206.79, which I believe is some sort of record, because the last person that rode this bike before me was Toprak Razgatlioglu, the current World Superbike champion. So I don't think I'm going to beat that lap time, and I don't think we're going to try, but let's see what this sucker feels like we get out on the track. There goes the Motor America racer. Gonna try and stay out of his way also. We're gonna warm up slow here. And I can tell you right off the bat that one of the big differences in the way the bike feels is the seat, which is super stiff, very common for race bikes. And also the handlebars are really, really wide. They're probably not actually a lot wider than a standard M1000, but it feels that way when you're on the bike, and it feels like you got a lot of leverage to muscle the bike around if necessary. Let's see, what else am I noticing? Everything is very stiff. That's customary for race bikes, of course, and this one delivers. You feel every little wrinkle in the asphalt, absolutely every one. Okay, half a lap in the books here. Let's light the fuse on 218 horsepower and see how it goes, shall we? Okay, well, so that can happen. It's a little bit faster than the stock bike that I was riding earlier today. So need to move the brake marker back. Note to self. One thing you'll also hear is a little burble when we come out of corners. When we get on the throttle, it sounds like it's misfiring. And that's because it has what's called throttle split electronics, which means only 2 of the 4 cylinders fire when you first get on the throttle. And then we actually need all the horsepower for all the cylinders. They all kick on. Pretty advanced stuff. They've been doing this in World Superbike for a while, and it is really odd sound, but a satisfying feeling. Okay, move that brake marker back a little bit, and lo and behold, we got our apex. Wow. It's a very, very severe machine. As you probably guess, full World Superbike electronics, which means they claim 218 horsepower, which is the same as the European M1000RR showroom superbike, except this one is not held back by emissions regulations or any kind of interference. It's whole hog. Holy crap, is it fast. And the wheelie control is so freaking smooth. It's funny. You start thinking that wheelie control is really good, and then you try a bike like this, and you realize, nah, actually that wheelie control you used wasn't that good. This is really, really good. Predictive almost. Little wheelie over the bump. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Almost blew it again. What a machine. What an absolute demon of a bike. It's just so ready. Anything you do, it's just ready. It's amazingly precise. Kind of feels like it was built by a company that's been doing it for a really long time. And wouldn't you know it, that's the case. Okay. Those are all of my notes so far. Let's do one flying lap. Just listen to the bike. Just enjoy the experience. And pick up the pace just a little bit. Here we go. random arc. There he goes. Come on, Zack. Come on, Zack. Oh my God, look at that slide. Oh my God. Don't brake like he brakes. Holy crap. All right, everybody. That's 3 laps of COTA on this bike. I'm gonna go do some more. Thanks for riding along. Yep. Okay. Hitting in and, you know, feeling good. Like, sort of like how you feel good after you run 3 times as far as you've run in a year. Like that kind of feel good, you know? Holy crap. That is a serious experience. I'm gonna need a minute to gather myself. Thanks, man.
Okie doke, sunset here at Circuit of the Americas. It's quiet-ish in pit lane. And I've had some time to think about, digest, and go over in my head some of what I learned and felt on that Alpha Racing M1000RR. Behind me here is the M1000RR stock bike that I rode to sort of warm up and get used to the track, and was able to, you know, compare the 2 bikes ultimately. The thing that I found most interesting actually were 2 things: the wheelie control and the brakes. The brakes I mentioned, right? I was talking about how they're plumb direct to the caliper and there's not any ABS routing for the lines that go under the bike and so on and so forth. I was right that that is meaningful. The brake feel is better. Different pads, different rotors, but I think really the direct connection with the front brake made such a big difference. The other thing was the wheelie control, which a lot of modern super bikes have really good rider aids. They have slide control and wheelie control and lots of other controls. And the wheelie control on this base M1000 is pretty good. You can adjust it and it will carry a nice low wheelie and you'll accelerate really, really fast. The way that it worked on that race bike was a clear step above. And the fact that the electronics on the race bike works so much better, to me, is a really clear reminder that as good as we think street bike electronics are, as good as we think the engines are, as powerful as we feel they are a step down, ultimately, of outright performance, because they need to conform to all of the rules and regulations that go into building and selling a street bike for the roads, whether it's in the United States or any other part of the world. When people strive for the utmost performance outside of the rules and regulations of a street bike, but really just what a motorcycle can do when there's nothing holding it back, it changes the dynamic of the way the bike feels. And always pushing for more and more and more and more is how companies get to build street bikes that are better and better and better and better. Will the wheelie control that is predictive due to fork stroke trickle its way down to super bikes that you can buy? Probably, yeah, it's already happening. And the fact that it's already happening is the reminder that I needed. It's the conclusion that I came to, that all this trickle-down technology isn't necessarily trickle-down technology, it's trickle-down effort. It's not just that Alpha Racing M1000RR is 50 or 70 pounds lighter or whatever it is than a stock bike. That helps, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg. All of the effort that went into removing that weight and making it as easy to ride as possible is what makes it feel so special and so sharp as a weapon on the racetrack. Our little joyride on the Alpha Racing M1000RR is over, but your journey does not have to be. Friendly reminder, click on the link in the description of this video for an article, more photos, more information on the bike, and I'll see you next time.
There it goes. Back to its home under the BMW Alpha tent. Good stuff, man. He thinks I'm a total loser. Why would he not? Okay.